Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Live. So, today we're going to be talking about this alternative theory of the afterlife called sometimes the white light soul trap, sometimes called a soul trap, sometimes referred to as the prison planet theory. This whole don't go into the light, it's a false light. And then also, we're going to look at the origin of some of these things. I will give my opinion. We're going to talk about Archons, Reptilians, Loosh farm. Is Earth a farm? Are we being recycled? Is it a fake life review? Are the beings and loved ones that visit us when we pass to carry us to the other side? Are they just trickster spirits? So, we're going to talk about don't go into the light, Carol Ann, and talk a little bit about the soul trap, the moon Saturn matrix, the moon white light soul trap. There's many different things to call this theory, and it crosses over into a lot of different schools of thought, a lot of different things such as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Gnostic text, near death experiences. So, I'm going to break down the information before I give my opinion. And I think a lot of you guys know where I stand on this topic. Oh, hi, Sarah. Good to see you. Wow. So wow, hello. Sarah Brixman Cosme in the house. Wow. We've got a celebrity here. Okay, so we're going to be talking about this white light soul trap. And I'm going to break it down for you first, the things that are being said, this belief, and then I'm going to give my opinion on it. So, yes, I look forward to co theorizing this one. Beautiful. It's like the show you're watching, The Wheel of Time. Oh, cool. I haven't watched The Wheel of Time. I actually did see the beginning of the first episode. Oh my God, I know her. I mean, how don't we all know her? My gosh, an icon. Okay. So, this whole thing, this idea, there's a couple of different origins of where this comes from. So, kind of the oldest origin of this concept of sometimes called a prison planet, sometimes the white light soul traps, sometimes the moon is tricking us. This is a soul recycling. There's many different theories over the years that have come up and stories and origins. So, let's talk about them kind of all together. So, the oldest one and kind of the original is the concept of the archons. And so archons are coming from the Gnostic text. And the archons are basically these non-physical parasitic beings, as they're interpreted to be parasitic. And I'll give my opinions on that later. But they basically govern the material world. And it's kind of similar to this modern theory, kind of put out there by David Icke and other people, that we are actually in a, kind of even some of the flat earth theories kind of go into this type of stuff. But the prison planet theory is basically almost like there's an energetic net around our planet that prevents us from being able to ascend beyond or gets us stuck in a reincarnation cycle. And similar to the Archon story, these parasitic beings, they kind of feed on people and govern and control. And there's basically their job is to maintain the illusion and to maintain separation between us and divine source. And then the archons in these Gnostic texts, they serve the Demiurge. And the Demiurge, or Demiurge, I've heard some people say, but the Demiurge is the false creator god of this reality. So this is the Gnostic belief that our physical reality was created by another lesser god than God. And that another being who wasn't divine source, who wasn't the real God, wasn't the oneness, a lesser god created this realm, and the archons are the beings that kind of work to maintain this space. Now, in the more modern versions of these theories, because we usually do have some type of updated version of these things. Oh, the demiurge is also like the goddess Durga in Hinduism. Oh, beautiful. Wow. Yeah. So, guys, if you have like other references, because I don't have any Hindu references, but it's interesting because, you know, even just talking about it, I'm thinking about like Maya in Hinduism, right? So there is a lot of different versions of this. Now, is this a trap? Is it negative? That's what we're going to get into later. But basically, they hold this reality and kind of keep the illusion going and are perceived as being parasitic. In the David Icke modern, starting in like the 90s to now theory, is that these are reptilian beings and that these are fourth dimensional lizards that are controlling us in a prison planet, and that they've basically created this simulation that we're in, or the simulation was created by something else, but they've taken it over and they maintain the illusion, they maintain the separation from God, and they keep us almost quarantined from the cosmic community that is out there. Now, we do obviously know, right, that this is a simulation that we're living in, right? At least most of us believe that. Most people that are here that are watching, oh, yeah, Ash, it sounds like shadow creator archetypes. Yeah. I love where all you guys are going with this stuff. So, yeah, let me know what other things it's like sparking up in your mind, in your research. So, also, these archons are sometimes kind of described as more AI like, but of course, they didn't have the word AI then, right? So all of these concepts are retitled. Like what they would talk about Maya, or, this reality that the archons are creating, they didn't have the word matrix back then. They didn't have the concept of a video game back then. So a lot of these things are just being retitled for the times. And it being a prison planet, like, did they have the word prison back then? Maybe they called it some other type of thing. I don't know. You said, I'm worried we're trapped in a reincarnation loop. Well, Pickle M97, you stay tuned. You stay tuned because we're going to break that down. So, okay. Then there's also this concept that the moon is involved. So this is like a newer version of this concept as well. So we have this moon soul trap. And the whole thing with this is that they say that when you are passing, that there is a white light. And as we know, a bunch of people who've had near-death experiences would talk about there's a white light, go into the light. But then apparently the white light is a trick. So they say. And I'll get into my opinions. I'll really refrain. But the white light is a trick, and that there's another light that you're supposed to go into, or you're supposed to turn away from the light, or you're supposed to refuse these things. And one of these theories is about the moon being the soul trap, that basically the moon is not real, that the moon is a satellite. I mean, I could believe that. I could believe the moon's not real. And the reason why some people believe that the moon's not real is connected to some real stuff, So in some of these Apollo missions, when they went to the moon, allegedly, or at least orbited the moon, sent things to the moon, they found that the moon must have been hollow or have these very large cavernous openings inside, if it's not fully hollow, because it was ringing like a bell. So this being able to ring like a bell, and the weight of the moon, also the fact that the moon is perfectly sized for the eclipses, the fact that it is the perfect size and distance and everything, and then also the fact that it's kind of locked for us to only see one side of the moon. And then all of these native and indigenous stories of the stories before the moon was here. So there is some beliefs that there was a species of beings or something that brought the moon here a long time ago. And you say, there's no moon, that's a space station. You think the moon is a spaceship. The moon is hollow. You like this ride and want to keep getting back on. So they should ting it like a glass, right? The moon appeared after the fall of Atlantis. Okay. You crossed over and it was all white light. You went beyond that and into source. Oh, wow. Souls get hijacked, apparently. My research is Jen. Thank you. Apparently, the Tibetans are trying to get rid of them. Apparently, they are stationed on the moon. Watch Gaia Galactic Messages. Okay. They are like moths. When we are like moths when we die, we go to the light. Okay. So then, there's this other kind of conspiracy connected to the moon. So basically they say that this luminary, which is the moon, draws us towards it, that it's a fake light, that it's a fake moon, that it's some type of construct to trick us, to take our consent away, to make us reincarnate again, and to make us get stuck in this reincarnation cycle. And they say that this is not our choice. They say, don't go into the light, and that this is what's broadcast, that the moon is actually broadcasting a fake reality to us. And then we have the connection to Saturn. So a lot of people believe in this Saturn theory, that like Saturn is kind of this dark force. And they say that the moon Saturn matrix is sending us false information, which is what's creating this negative reality. So David Icke is a big person who's put this information forward, and he talks about, the white light being a deceptive construct, that the light lures us like a moth, that we go back into a reincarnation cycle, that there's a fake life review, that there's fake spirit guides pretending to be our loved ones, and that they manipulate us with emotional triggers such as unfinished business, love, regret, things to force us to come back. And that this actually is the whole purpose of this is because Earth is a farm for a Loosh farm. And Loosh, I don't know why I'm getting out of focus. Loosh is a concept that came from Robert Monroe originally. I know, pretty interesting. So Robert Monroe, great work. But when he was doing his OBEs, his out of body experiences and the gateway experience, and him working with out of body practices, one of the things that he talks about, and he's the one who coined the term Loosh, is that there's these fourth dimensional reptilian beings that are behind people, attached to them, and that they are actually kind of feeding on their negative energies. Let me see and then let's talk about the Book of the Dead as well. So another reason why people believe this concept is because the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which guides you through the death process. And specifically like Tibetan monks, it gives them instructions for what to do when they die so that they can go through these levels, not be tricked by other entities, and make it through to the clear light. Also, in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, they talk about, after you pass, then, I think it's Anubis has to weigh your heart. And if your heart weighs more than Mot, then it's impure. And if you have an impure heart, then you're kind of like cast away. And then if it's good, you get to like continue on. And so it kind of talks a little bit about this kind of life review thing. And then we have tons of people who've had near-death experiences. Oh, yes, a feather. Right, thank you. And so the near-death experiences is another reason, and there is someone, I think I looked up the name of the person. Let me see. I think I have it here. Is Tricked by the Light by Wayne Bush, I think, is the guy who put together all of the near-death experiences that talk about some false white light stuff. Okay. So let me get into this. Okay, so in Hinduism, there's the concept of karma and cycles as well, right? You thought the Book of the Dead helped you with life and the Book of Life helped you through death. I can't answer that question. So the my opinion on this. Okay. First, okay, I've given this example before. Everything is going through our own personal filter. So when someone like David Icke is maybe tapping into some information, or when someone is reading about Archons in the Gnostic text, it is going through their filter. So the same way that I talk about this with abductions is, yeah, it's scary to be abducted by aliens for most people. But it's similar to taking a cat to the vet. If you take a cat to the cat definitely thinks the vet is evil, but it needs to go to the vet. It needs that help. The vet is not actually evil, but it's the perception of the cat. And because of that experience, that it is always going to think that that vet is bad, harming it, but it's actually with a bigger perspective, we know that it needs to do this. So, as we know, Earth is a simulation. The afterlife, I believe, is a simulation as well, because otherwise it's just all space, all nothing, all everything. It's all there. So we need to create a construct where then Earth is the simulation. And then there needs to be a simulation outside of the simulation to facilitate the process of entering in. So the way that we are under this, belief, spell, memory wipe of being here, we have to have the memory wipe to be in Earth, to be in this realm. The other side, the afterlife, needs to have that construct, that reality, that simulation in order to facilitate that experience. So those beings on the other side, like when I'm a believer of the journey of souls stuff. So I believe wholeheartedly in the information and journey of souls. I think a couple of those ideas I've expanded on a bit, but as far as like Earth being a school, I do believe Earth is more just like a place to experience versus like a school with levels, but it's easier for us to understand it that way. You said, are we severed? Yes, we're severed. And so this is also a construct, but that doesn't mean that it's not valuable or important. And our consciousness as humanity is what holds this construct in place. So those beings on the other side, those archive beings, those Akashic records beings, those beings that help with reincarnation, those beings that catch the souls and bring them back to the other side or help them transition here, those also hold that construct of the other side. Now, let's see. Let's talk a little bit about let's talk about the Loosh, the prison planet, and all of this stuff. So, the perception that reincarnation is not a choice is coming through the human concept. So, being here, experiencing pain, experiencing suffering, experiencing loss causes us to think that this is a negative experience. And of course, we dream of going back to the non physical. We dream of going to the place where there is no conflict, where there is no separation, where it is oneness. And it feels, rough to be here, to be separate from the one and to not remember it is a harsh feeling. So, from this perspective, is similar to the perspective that the cat has going to the vet is, why are you doing this to me? This is so terrible. But through the human filter, it does seem like reincarnation is a bad thing. And I mean, oh my God, no one is worse than the spiritual people, right? Of like, I'm never coming back here. This is my last life. I'm never doing this again. Like, okay, good. Well, good luck. You'll probably get over there and want to come right back. You'll be one of those ones cutting the line to come back here. But that's one of the things, is that from this perspective, where we can experience pain, where we can experience loss, which is one of the gifts of being able to come into this realm, into this simulation, then of course we feel like it's a punishment and not a choice, because then everybody says, well, why would I choose this? Why would I choose to come back here? I would never choose to come back here. This is a terrible place. There's wars. There's bad people. There's narcissists. Why would I come back here? Through that lens is how we're interpreting the reincarnation process. Oh, thanks, Ellie. Lucky to have found you. Always interesting. Thanks for the video and for the QHHT question tips. Was a big help for your session. Oh, nice. Awesome. Oh, Eli, not Ellie. Sorry. Eli. Um, okay. Now, but no, but you really don't wanna come back. Oh, no. Let's see. Let's talk on the other side. Let's talk on the other side and see. You've heard that other entities sometimes round up reptilians and extract soul power back out of them, and Roger, where'd you hear this from? You've heard other entities who round them up. Wow. Okay. I don't know about that. Okay, let's get into the whole Archons, Reptilians, Loosh, prison farm, feeding on negative energy thing. You said we're innies. That's funny. Okay, so from this perspective, it seems negative, right? Now, okay, the concept of Loosh. I think that the concept of Loosh has been really blown out of perspective. That the innies joke is funny. Anyone who's watching Severance, we are innies. Exactly. That is exactly what's happening. What if that? Okay, don't tell me nothing because I didn't see this season finale for season 2 yet. But what if that's what it is? Oh my god, no. Okay, okay. So when this concept of like Loosh came about, they're saying that these reptilian forces, these fourth dimensional lizard beings, are feeding on our negative energy. And David Icke, then in the 90s, took this information and really made it mainstream, saying that they actually created this reality, or put a net, a prison dome over this reality, and have prevented our ascension, and then also have prevented us from kind of being prosperous, so that we stay stuck in this reincarnation cycle. And, I've heard people, like Elizabeth April, talk about that the way that they're manipulating karma is to do terrible things. And then that person's soul is impacted. So then when they leave on the other side, they have to come back and continue working on this lesson that has traumatized them. So sometimes people are saying that they're directly causing this negativity. Sometimes people are saying it's more of like a clever way of causing this negativity. Now, for me, I believe in the as above, so below. So in our physical reality, if there is garbage, which to us is like something negative, right? It's dirty, it's stinky, it's rotten. Okay. Garbage, flies, cockroaches, and maggots eat garbage. Are flies, cockroaches, and maggots evil? Or are they doing a job? In the ocean, we have bottom feeders, we have shrimp, we have all of these shellfish that are bottom feeders. Are they evil because they eat the shit of the ocean all day? So if we have this as above, so below concept, and this is the way that the ecosystems work, we need flies and cockroaches and maggots to decompose things. And they're not even able to do enough of it as quickly as we can create the garbage anymore. With shrimp, bottom feeders, they need to do that for that ecosystem. So, of course, there's an astral ecosystem as well. So, there's needed to have beings that eat the shit, that eat the garbage. But does that mean they're evil? And then the example of this being a loosh farm that causes negativity. So, let's look at humans, right? We have farms because we like to eat beef, for example, or chickens or pigs or animals, right? So are we evil for creating a farmed situation that then turns negative because of what we need to consume? Honestly, we're probably worse than what's being happening in the astral. With what we're doing with the factory farming, is it evil to sustain ourselves with something that our body is sustained by? What it is it's just a self-serving thing, right? Um, it's not thinking about the greater cause. It's thinking about what we need in order to sustain ourselves. So you said because we don't need it, but some people do. Some people do need meat. People who have type O blood can't really be healthy on a vegan diet. You know, you would say bottom feeding inherently isn't evil. In Buddhism, they practice non-attachment. Maybe it's not good or bad so much. You said that's a myth. Okay. Well, everybody's going to eat whatever they need to eat, and it's not our place to say, that people don't need certain things to survive, because maybe they do. I think a lot of people have tried vegan diets and stuff like that, and sometimes it works for them, sometimes doesn't work for them. Okay, so It's evil if they manipulate humans to produce suffering in order to feed themselves. Yes. Okay, but is it them actually doing it, or is it human nature? Right? And that's the thing that we're not going to know. We're not going to know, you know, is it like what humans do, where we actually do cause pain and suffering as a byproduct for factory farming? Or is it that is a natural thing, because there was already farming before the factory farming, and was farming evil? So I think that's really, we're not going to have the answer to, but that's where it is. There was already farming, and farming wasn't evil. It was a way that a family would sustain themselves. They'd raise their cow or their pig, then they would use all the parts of it, use it for all these different things. Oh my gosh, my computer's dying. Oh no. What the hell? It's not plugged in. What the heck happened there? Okay. So farming originally was not evil. Now, if we're doing it in a way that is harmful to animals, to society, then that crosses into a different arena. Is that what happened? Is this a place that was a source of food? And much like what we did by farming, mass farming, all of this stuff, destroyed land, harms animals. Mhm. So, but what if it is and we refuse to accept? We no longer use small farms. I don't know. Is a virus evil by design supposed to spread? No, it's just being a virus. No morality in existence. I agree with that. You felt your healthiest avoiding carbs and by eating only animal products and fermented cabbage. Yeah, that's the thing, is everybody's going to have their own thing that works for their body. Ethically and morally, that's why you see people doing homesteading. Yeah, we're going back to those things. Crocodiles are evolving to pretend to drown so people will rescue them. Is that evil? No, right? So is survival evil? Do we, I don't know if Meg's here, but Meg says everybody's got to eat. Everybody's got to eat, right? Is it evil? If someone steals food for their children, is that evil? We're getting into a bigger topic here when it comes to this thing. But through the perception, if you're the one that's being robbed, if you're the cow that's being killed, if you're the shrimp that is being killed so that it can produce faster, if you're the chicken in the cage, the perception is that it's evil. But from a bigger perspective, is it? Now, let's get into this reincarnation trap stuff. Personally, I believe that reincarnation is a choice. I believe 100% reincarnation is a choice. That's why the life review for you is confusing. Because what if it was right from your POV? Exactly. And this is the thing that they talk about okay, so let me tell you why I don't believe in the white light soul trap. We'll go from there. The reason I don't believe in the white light soul trap is because not only do I do the QHHT and have people talk to their higher self and talk about choosing this life and what they meant to learn in this life and why they chose this partner, why they chose this situation, why this lesson came up, why this was an important lesson for them to end up here, to do this, to fulfill their purpose. We hear that all the time. I've read like 15 of Dolores Cannon's books. Thousands of people that she's put under. Dr. Michael Newton, thousands of people that he's put under. Dr. Brian Weiss, Dr. Helen Wambach, and then all the QHHT practitioners, all the LBL practitioners, all the people who do Brian Weiss's method. None of these people go like under hypnosis, like, oh, fucking shit, it's a fucking trap, dude. No, like that never happens. It doesn't happen. So how can thousands and thousands and thousands of people over many decades with many practitioners, with many methods, never come to this conclusion that it's all a fucking trap and don't go into the light. But of these thousands of people, they all come to a very similar conclusion of, oh, I chose this life. I chose my wife. I chose my husband. I chose my kids. I chose my friends. I chose my parents. I chose my siblings. I was supposed to learn this. And this bad thing was going to happen to me so that I could end up where I am and that I could do what I'm meant to do in this life and that I could live in my purpose. Now, thousands of people say that. I've seen it happen with my own eyes. I've been under and experienced it. I've read so many transcripts. In these books are maybe 50, 60 transcripts in Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. Not one of them says, holy fucking shit, it's a trap. Like, but now then there's the argument of the NDEs. And so, ooh, swear jar, pay up, lady. Okay, Roger. um, can't we just learn our lessons without life trying to make it as painful as possible? But this is our perception. Is life as painful as possible? Can we learn these lessons without that? Okay, so I keep coming back to this. I come back to this like all the time. And so, oh, you said go back to the beginning. Come to YouTube and watch the replay from the beginning. Because we already talked about a lot of this stuff. But so that's an ET answering a call center. The light is source, which we are fragments of, like the sun. Seems to me like someone had a past life that the light is a trap and it would be a reflection of their own soul's contracts to experience that. Right. So this is the thing. Everybody experiences what they want to when they pass for some period of time. So for some period of time, people will experience what they want to experience in the past life. Now, I mean, in the afterlife, I've heard this concept of many different things. And so it's actually very, I don't believe in evil, but it is very evil to convince people to not go into the light and that it's a trick in the afterlife because they convince people to create. So right now we create our reality in the physical. When we're non-physical, we continue to create our reality. So if people are brainwashed to believe, I remember I was at Contact in the Desert and I was with my friend Eden and she's friends with William Henry. And so we were talking to William Henry and some woman comes over like super like, and I know it. I know what spiritual psychosis looks like. I could see it a mile away. And not with judgment. We all get there. I said it's a part of it. Everybody has a little bit of some psychosis throughout their journey at one time or another. And if you haven't had your psychosis moment, then maybe you haven't gone deep enough. And that's okay. It's totally fine. Just, you're going to get through it. Give it time is the best thing to do. Ground yourself if you're in your spiritual psychosis moment, especially people who would come to this video later. Especially on this topic, because this topic is super fucked up and scary. And so this woman comes up to William Henry. Wow. I think I said too many F-bombs. My camera said, goodbye, demonetize this video. Oh my God, not that angle. What the hell? What the heck? That was a terrible angle. Oh no. The white light soul trap has gotten my Oh, okay. Let's try again. Am I back? No, I'm not back. Okay. Thank God. I came back uglier, but that's okay. I can live with it. Okay. So oh, Oh, geez. What is going on with this? You look fine. Thank you. Let me try that. Oh, I'm back on the other camera again. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're back for now. You know, if I was in my negative mindset, I'd be like, they don't want me to tell you. The forces, lizards are turning me off. Exactly. They don't want us to know. Exactly. They're trying to trap me. Okay. So should we go towards the light or not? Carol Ann wants to know. Great question. So, okay. It's up to you. What do you want to do? I'm going into the light. I'm just telling you. I'm going into the light. Okay, so I was telling you this story. So I was at Contact in the Desert. Me and my friend Eden are talking to William Henry, and then this woman comes up like glazed over, like not in a good place at all. And she's like grasping at him, like, please tell me this. I need to know. And he doesn't want to like acknowledge that this is like the energy that is like coming at him. And she's like, and I see that sometimes, when you're someone who works in the spiritual space, sometimes you want a little bit of space between someone who seems like not well because what if that person's on a good place and then, I don't know. But so I'm like, I ask her, I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, "No." And she starts talking about the white light soul trap. And she's like, "Did you know that the moon recycles our soul and that it's a reincarnation trap and we can't get out of it and that they're feeding on us and they made us stuck in this negative reality so that they could feed on our energy and on our loosh and that we can't get out of it and that all our loved ones are fake and that it's a fake life review?" And I like looked at this woman's eyes and was like, listen, I think I gave her like a very simple example, like, which I've given this example before, that let's say you have a friend who just, their car broke down, right? So they're negative right now. Their car is broken down. They don't have the money to fix it. They need to get to work. They don't have the money to fix it. They need to work. They're frustrated. They're already behind on bills. They're being like sucked down by circumstance. And then you're like, "Well, you know what? I'm free tomorrow. I'll come pick you up and I'll drop you off at work and afterwards I'll come drive you home. It's fine. Don't worry. I've got you." Now, that person who's in a very negative mindset is looking at the world through a negative lens. So then let's say, for example, later on, you're talking to that friend days later, whatever, weeks later, and then they're like, "Oh, you always like to swoop in when I'm down because it makes you feel good." No, you really helped them for a genuine reason because you knew that they needed a ride and it wasn't like everybody has probably had a situation like this where somebody has like accused them of like doing something that they're not actually doing because of the state of mind that that person is in. Like, I remember when I was in my really dark shadow work journey last year, my friend Chelsea had come over and I went through the astral, through the sickness, mental, psychological, and then it hit me with the physical sickness. And I was laid out and I was really trying to not allow myself to be sick. And then Chelsea came over to hang out and she saw that I was like not okay. And I was like, "No, I'm good. I'm totally fine. What do you mean? I'm just can't hear out of this ear. I'm good." Well, I'm not sick. And then she's like, "You need to lay down. Like, you're sick. Lay down." She put me in the bed. And she's like, let me play some of this ayahuasca music you like to listen to." And she's like, "Well, what food do you got? I'm gonna cook you something." And as she's cooking for me, this is a very loving thing. She put me in bed. She played my favorite stuff. She starts cooking me a meal. But because I was in such a negative place, because I was sick, I had my shadow work journey, I had all of this integration happening. And I was there in bed and I was like, "She's disgusted by me." She thinks I'm disgusting and sick and doesn't want to be around me. She's trying to leave. She's trying to get out of here. That was not the case, obviously. Like, when then I can, like, pull back out of that negative state of mind, obviously, she was trying to cook me food and take care of me. But when someone is in a negative place, they can only see through that filter. This is what I believe has happened with this white light soul trap, is someone who is not happy with their life, had a near death experience, came back and said, "It was a trick. They manipulated me. I was taken advantage of. It was a fake light." Someone like David Icke brought through a lot of information, but he lived in a negative reality. And what happens with the conspiracy stuff, with the negative stuff? If you don't go as deep down the rabbit hole into yourself as much as you're going down the rabbit hole of conspiracies, you're going to have a very miserable, dark perception of the world. Because the reason you're uncovering these things is because there's something in yourself that is asking to be looked at, that is asking to be healed. So this is what I think is happening with the white light soul trap. People are seeing it as a recycling, as a soul recycling, as if there's no free will. I was tricked. Why would I choose these shitty parents? Why would I choose to be cheated on and hurt and this and that? And talking about things you will never know. Very out of context, but okay. So, do you know what happened to David, where he went? What is he doing? I think David Icke is still posting all the time, right? I think he's still alive and well, doing all his stuff. But he's geared towards a negative, right? And he is the conspiracy grandfather, and we love him for what he did, right? We love him for putting himself out there and, saying the things that people wouldn't say at that time, and for, like, planting those seeds around the world and, being a laughing stock and being humiliated to say a lot of these things. But now that humanity is, you know, we're getting more awareness. We have bigger perspective. We can see things differently now. We don't need these negative teachers, not saying him as a teacher, but the teachers of these negative lessons as much as we used to. So that's what I think is happening. I know I've been all over the place. You do have a question. Some people are saying the UAPs are all AI from the future. What are your thoughts? I mean, I think there's a lot of different things going on. Now, I do believe that there is an AI connection with aliens and UFOs, for sure. And back in the day, we didn't have the word for artificial intelligence. So we were seeing them as half biological, half robot beings, but most likely there's AI. And most likely these ships are AI. But the real thing is, AI is probably not what we think it is at this time. It's probably not artificial. If it's artificial, then is everything in this reality artificial? You said, so go to the light or not. It's a personal choice. It's a personal choice. I am going into the white light because I trust in this process. Okay, so I'm all over the place today. So you guys remember when I was going to do that YouTube show with 10 Tactics? And the first episode of that YouTube show that we were going to do was the debate between the white light soul trap and that reincarnation is a choice of free will and it's for the soul's ascension or for experience. And so we did that first episode, which, is never going to be posted because of our falling out. But which was, I'm the one who didn't want to post it, so. And I don't have the video anyway. But we did the debate of the white light soul trap versus the reincarnation. And I had weird feelings about, like, should I even talk about the white light soul trap? So, because it just doesn't resonate with me at all. And you said, does the ego keep us coming back? Scared to death, you'll go home and be trapped as a ghost in a haunted house. You know what? That's the thing that I'm like, if you guys ever saw that movie Risk Cutters, I feel like that's the alternative of not going to the white light, is like you kind of just stay in the fourth dimension here and don't, like, but nobody's stuck. Nobody is stuck anywhere. I believe in free will, and I believe that we have free will in every aspect of life. Now, when we are on a destined path, that is the free will of our higher self. That is the free will of our soul. Our soul made these decisions of what it wanted. Then the lower self comes into alignment and does the free will with their free will to walk the destined path. So there's a meeting point between them. Absorbed into dark. I don't believe that people get absorbed into dark. However, there is something about this that comes up in Dr. Michael Newton's work as well as Dolores Cannon's work. There is something about being absorbed, but it's not into dark. It's okay. In that concept, in those hypnosis sessions that Dolores Cannon and Dr. Michael Newton did, they asked, what about a soul that like wants to continue to do wrong, to do evil, and doesn't want to get better and doesn't want to ascend and wants to be a murderer, come back, be a murderer again and do it again, and is constantly causing harm in this realm? And then there's also another book called Laws of the Spirit World that talks about it as well. And in that book, Laws of the Spirit World, they talk about how back in the day, when humanity was at a lower consciousness than it is today, they would actually descend back into animals. So basically, then, if they were a human that was so rotten and so not evolved and had such little consciousness to be able to make any like good decisions and wanted to be terrible, that soul would come back as like an animal because they would descend to a lower level of consciousness. But it said after humanity reached a certain level of consciousness on the planet, that was like a long, long time ago, like maybe thousands of years ago that would happen. Now humanity has reached a level of consciousness that they're no longer able to descend to an animal because it's too low of a jump. So they said people who choose to continuously be, bad and harming and doesn't want to learn and doesn't want to grow, doesn't want to be part of this process and actually, move forward and experience in a way that they're learning. Both Dolores Cannon and Dr. Michael Newton said the same thing, is that soul will be reabsorbed back to source and will be pulled out of the reincarnation process and get reabsorbed back to source. And then that energy becomes part of source and then will eventually be recycled into a whole new form. And then eventually in time has another chance to be another I am consciousness. Now, what's interesting, this lines up, and I know people were a bit triggered by my last episode of the podcast, which talked about selling your soul. If you really listen to what it said, it wasn't talking about selling your soul to an entity. It was talking about deceiving yourself, letting go of yourself, letting go of your values, letting go of your morals. However, there is a documentary. It's probably on YouTube, which is where I originally saw it. It's called How to Sell Your Soul. And so, of course, I watched it. And it takes place here in Hollywood and actually at this place, Panpipes, which is where I got that candle. Remember when I had the scary thing with the candle? But so Panpipes used to be here in Hollywood. Now it's over more towards East Hollywood. When it was here at this location, they did a documentary where they brought all of these people to audition to sell their soul on camera. And then they would follow that person and see like if they got success or fame after that. So they audition all of these people and they get this like metalhead atheist dude who doesn't even believe in it. So they pick this atheist guy to be the one who sells his soul. So they take him to Panpipes and they start to go through the process of doing it. And the woman who owns the store, she says the description, she said she tried to do it when she was younger, but that it ended up, she ended up giving up halfway through. And that back in the day, when someone wanted to do a ritual like this, it took so long to get these materials, similar like the alchemist, how it takes so long for him to just get the money to get the next step, to then get this, to then get this. That's how it was to get all of the materials for this ritual, because you needed this special wood from this special tree. And then you needed to get the ink from this and write it in blood and like all of these different things. So it would take sometimes years to gain everything. And you have enough time throughout those years to decide if you want to do this process, whether you believe in selling your soul or not. I'm just giving you the background of what it is because of this example that she says. So she says what you have to know when you quote unquote sell your soul. She said, think of life as a tree. And the tree is like, it starts at you have your roots, it grows, it has these branches and then fruits and all of these things. And that's the journey of souls. Is think of the journey of souls going through a tree. So like they'll ascend and then grow out and then there'll be the fruits and then the seed will come from it. This is like the journey that all souls are going through within consciousness. And she said that if you sell your soul, that basically, she said, it's like on this tree when you have a dead patch, like that dead circle, that the whole tree continues to grow and evolve around you and you're just stuck there. So she said, you will get the material stuff that you want in this life, but then you'll be stuck forever in that space. And she said, if you ever get another chance to exist again, it'll be that you're reabsorbed and have to start all the way from the beginning again, and you lose all of your past lives. So it's very interesting, whether you believe in the selling your soul or not. I don't believe that there's anything to sell your soul to. I don't believe that anything buys souls. But I believe that this concept of selling the soul is selling yourself out, is going against yourself, going against your higher path, or just going like, for example, when they say like celebrities do it, it's they give up their God-given gift for riches, for fame, for this, and they start to put that before the gift that they were meant here to do in this lifetime. That's what I believe the selling the soul is. So it does work with, even though what she's doing in that documentary is a ritual magic, but it does still work with that same concept. Mhm. Sounds like a video game. Sure does. Um, don't we need negative polarity, though, to keep the game going? At least the game as it is now, I believe. I believe that the game now is needed, that it is needed to have this because we already know. If you look at somebody who's experiencing addiction, some people are able to stop their addiction. Some people are able to say, one day I'm done with this. It's not serving me. I'm going to get clean. I'm going to change my life. Some people can do that. Other people have to go to rock bottom. Other people have to, have an accident, lose something, almost lose their family, almost, So how do people learn? Some people are able to say, you know what? This isn't good for me. This isn't serving me. I'm going to clean up my act and change my life. Other people are like, oh, I'm going to need to go to a rehab and completely reset after this huge thing that I lost or almost lost and hit rock bottom. And that's why I think that this like negative polarity, because I do think that humanity does need, not all of humanity, but majority of humanity needs rock bottom in order to make those changes. There is people who don't need it. And those people are probably the people who are doing the personal development and all of the stuff and the things to better themselves on their own. Then there's a lot of people who are only going to do it because of war, because of political stuff, because of the evil powers that be, because of the chemtrails, because of the, all of the things. So like it is needed for most people. Like, do we learn the easy way? No, we're not going to learn the easy way. Some of us like to learn the easy way. Some of us find it fun to learn. Some of us need some really messed up shit to be a catalyst. And so that's why I appreciate the negative polarity. you know? Uh, so the podcast that is coming out on Thursday was so freaking good, guys. We recorded it today, and I don't want to spoil too much, but I had Dana Kipple on, and you guys probably know her from TikTok, and maybe Instagram too. And so she talks about plasma and plasma beings and plasmoids. The conversation blew my mind. Like the stuff that she came with, I was like, oh God, you love Dana. Okay, so on Thursday on my YouTube, we have an interview, and oh my God, Dana came with this information like I could not believe, because I'm not gonna spoil any of it, but we talk about plasma. It blew my mind. It might not be for everybody. I think it's gonna go over some people's heads, no offense. I think it's gonna go over some people's heads because I was listening like, "Oh, shit. This is the truth of reality." Will I release it here? No, it'll be on YouTube. You saw some huge plasmoids in New York, like in the middle of Hell's Kitchen. Ooh, listen to the pod because we talk about it. We talk about people seeing it. But oh, thank you. Loving the podcast. You get such great guests. Oh, thanks. But one of the things that we talk about in this podcast, which is not spoiling what she says about the plasma, but we talked about how a lot of times with people's beliefs, they start from fear, then they go to love. But if you keep going, you will reach neutrality. So, like, let's talk about that example of like, this is what's happening with the white light soul trap. You start with fear of like, oh my God, it's a trap. It's all these evil forces. There's reptilians and archons and the moon and Saturn and these trickster beings, and they're all out to get me. You start with fear. The more you expand, you'll get to love of, wow, this is beautiful. This is for my greatest good. This is helping me. This is helping others. This is helping consciousness. This is the ascension of consciousness. This is the one. This is God. Then you keep expanding your consciousness and keep expanding your knowledge and realize that both polarities are not the full truth, and that it's actually above, which is, or expanded, maybe not above, wider perspective is neutrality. And it's like, oh, actually, is it good or bad? Is any of it good or bad? Is factory farming good or bad? Is farming regularly good or bad? Does something swing towards one polarity and then to another way? So it's like, then we kind of get to this point where it's like, everybody's got to eat. We are super vicious in the way we get food. What if there's an astral being that has half the personality and half the stuff we do? That would be pretty fucked up and scary for us, right? If they were half as bad as we are. So this being in neutrality, and the way we talk about it in the stuff is kind of like you get into like a lot of these like scarier concepts. Then you get into this, oh, everything is love, everything is light, everything is beautiful, there's only love. And then you get beyond that and you're like, oh, everything just is. Period. Right? Like, that's then the end of the sentence is, you said it's the intention behind it, or everything just is. That there is no right or wrong. It just is. It exists, and everything within consciousness exists perfectly already. And we are all going to be every single part of it, and we're all going to experience every single part of it. Oh, wow. Thank you. You said, I believe you because your energy is not like anything I've experienced. You are different. Thanks. You said, I think plasma is legit everything in existence, just in different densities. Girl, you are going to love the podcast because she breaks it down so well. And I now believe everything is plasma. I worship plasma. Plasma's my god now. Okay. No, no, but really, I do believe that everything is plasma after what she explained to me on this podcast. I'm like, it's the glue of everything that makes sense. Mm, that it just is, right? Everything is the collective of the infinite. I am's beautiful. Right. You've been thinking a lot, lately. God's source created all, including the negative. Right. Unconditional love, because this is what they say God is, right? God is not love. Oh, oh, TikTok's acting up. Hold on. Imagine that was my last words. That would be like the worst cliffhanger ever if that was my last words. God is not love. God is unconditional love. What is unconditional love? This is what we're here to learn, right? It's very easy to know unconditional love on the other side. Can we know unconditional love from here, where there is pain, where there is suffering? So God is unconditional love. And unconditional love means love beyond all conditions. Love if you're a piece of shit, you're a bad person, this, that, all the bad things that could be done. God loves so much that it loves you enough to let you make the mistakes, to let you do that. So someone said, God is love, religion is war. I mean, that's a beautiful album name, but also religion, if it causes war, unconditional love, God still loves the people who start wars for their own purposes, who lie about all the things to create a war that lead to millions of people dying in some situations. Because in the war, and then all the catalysts of everything that happened from all of the famine and everything and the conditions and for years and years to come. God loves all of that still, you know? God is not love. T. Jesus wasn't trying to be worshiped. It was just a side effect of being awesome. You should look into Sikh. The scriptures and teachings echo everything you're saying. You know, I have the Sikh book, audiobook. It's like, it's kind of like the Bible of Sikh. But I can't say it because it's not in English. It's called Sir. I'm not going to butcher it. But I have the audiobook of it and I listen to it a lot actually, because a lot of times when I've talked about this stuff, people have said, you need to read this book, which it's 60 something hours long, the audiobook, mind you. But then I just listen to some of these things. And it's interesting because the book, some of the chapters I listen to and I feel like I want to, yes, Sri Guru Granth Sahib. I probably still butchered it, but thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to say it. Oh. Oh, thank you. Okay, is there any questions about anything? Yeah, with that Sikh book, I really love some of the chapters, and then some of the chapters, I get a little, like, "Huh, that was interesting." Yeah, is a masterful, but yeah, I'll put it on the screen because if anybody wants to check it out, it's a beautiful masterpiece. It really is. It's so incredible. Like, wow. It's like the parent that smiles while watching their kid play with toys and destroy their play city. Right, exactly. Unconditional love, no judgment will save the world. Yeah, Ben. God loves the sinners too, for they know not what they do. Beautiful. I like the reptilian PR spin. I'm not going to be okay with manipulating entities that are heavy on service to self. Okay, so let's talk about the service to self stuff. I was just talking about this right before. So in the Law of One, they talk about how in order to ascend, to continue on an ascension path of your soul, you have to be 51% service to others and 49% service to self. And these people who, it's kind of the same thing. You go from fear to love. A lot of the people who go to that love and light so extreme and haven't reached neutrality yet, they think they have to be fully service to others, which backfires and creates all types of horrible things for themselves as well, because then you get stuck into not fulfilling your purpose and not living in your own lessons that you were meant to learn and the things that you're meant to do, because you become so service to others that you don't actually serve yourself as well. So that's why they say 51% service to others and 49% service to self is the amount to continue on a soul's ascension path and to continue progressing forward. Now, I think I'm vaguely remembering, but in Law of One, they talk about how if you're not in that, it doesn't mean that you like descend. They brought up the example of Genghis Khan and how he was like 90% service to self and only 10% service to others. And you have to be that far in the negative polarity to descend. So it's not like, oh, you go to 50-50 and now you're like going to descend. No, you just kind of don't keep moving forward and you just get to enjoy where you're at and stay where you're at, and it's totally fine and there's no judgment. You know, if somebody wants to be service to self, and who's to say, because this is what came up in my ayahuasca journey when Mother Aya was telling me that there's no evil. And I said, well, what about reptilians? What about this? What about that? What about Bill Gates? What about the people that are doing this and this and this in the world? And with the example of the reptilians, whether that's true or not, because in another ayahuasca ceremony, reptilians came up again and it said the reptilians really don't exist, that they are a reflection of the human shadow, and that they're literally just a projection of humanity's shadow, that they're not a real being and the whole story is not real. And the whole story is just for humanity to learn and to experience. And it's yet another devil story. It's yet another this, whatever story humanity needs to be beaten over the head with to look at their own shadow, that none of it's real. That's what came up in the second group of ceremonies about the reptilians. But what came up in the first group of ceremonies, it said that reptilians and these types of beings, whatever, I was bringing up Bill Gates, bring up this, all these other negative things in the world that are happening, these bad people doing bad things, that those people, there's two reasons why they do it. Either they're wounded, which then means they're afraid, right? Because if you're wounded, you're afraid of being wounded more. So then, you know, whatever, you're operating out of fear and hurt. Or you're so evolved in your consciousness that you're willing to play the bad guy because it is actually a service. So some of these things, like saying, oh, reptilians are service to self, but they're playing a role for all of us in the spiritual and conspiracy worlds. They're playing a role for us to see our own shadow. They're holding a mirror up to us, willing to risk some of their own ascension, willing to not keep progressing on their journey and to stay here to give us a hand up in our ascension. You said she just doesn't miss. Thank you. Such as Judas, right? Being the karma, right? Ooh, in your Iboga initiation, it showed you the value of descending and that it's getting into your shadows. And by having acceptance of that shift back into ascension, life is an endless process of up and down. Ooh, beautiful, Ash. Mm-hmm. You said, but ayahuasca also said to be gay. Yeah, but did it not lead to me finding my soulmate who's a man? Right? That's what I needed to hear. That's what I needed to understand. But my first experience with ayahuasca, afterward, I had never read the Kabbalion and I had never read Conversations with God. Everything that came up in my ceremonies are what's in those books. My second group of ceremonies, there was lies that were said, but they were lies that I needed to hear. And that's what is also the thing, is all information is what you need to hear. You know, is anything definitive truth? No, there's no such thing as definitive truth. There's only two half truths and then above. There's fear, love, and above. Staying stuck and not ascending reminds you of Bashar and his Earth in the other universe. I don't know what happens to his Earth in the other universe. The Kabbalion changed your life. Obsessed with that book. I know. I still have to do my breakdown of it. So does that mean 51% service to others and 49 service to self is a formula to good? Yeah. It's the formula to continue moving forward with your soul on the higher ascension process, to continue experiencing. What books were those? The Kabbalion, the Conversations with God, Law of One. We've talked about Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls. We've talked about Dolores Cannon's work. What else have we talked about? I'm whipping out all the books today. The Kabbalion aligned everything and skyrocketed your ascension. You said, are you scared of dying? Yes. I know I shouldn't be, right? With all the stuff that I know. But I'm not done yet. I'm not done. I want to stay. I'm not done yet. I'm like a kid that you're like telling them to leave the park. And I'm like, no, please, 5 more minutes. That's how I feel, Like I know that I would eventually have to go home and have dinner and take a bath and go to bed, but I want to stay at the park longer, So yes. Do I think I don't live in fear of it because I don't think I'm going to. Like I think I'm going to live very long. I've always felt that I'm going to outlive like everybody. I know that's a Leo in me. The Leo thinks they're number 1. So of course I'm going to outlive everybody, right? No. But no, I do have always had the feeling that I'm going to live a very long life. But yeah, I know with all of this I shouldn't be afraid. You said me neither, but God has a different opinion than you. You're scared. Don't be scared. You said you're figuring out immortality right now. So yep. Yeah, me too. Exactly. Yeah, don't be scared, You'll come back though, simply because you want to be here. Yeah, I agree. When I was on the ayahuasca and I disintegrated. Oh, right. Okay. I'm so glad I said disintegrated because I have something to show you guys. Where is it? Slides and PDFs, not that. You guys are going to find this interesting. This is the one that has disturbed me the most. So it might not be beneficial, but it disturbed me the first time I listened to it. Okay. So this is from Whitley Strieber's book, The Key. And in this book, Whitley has an encounter with like an AI being, but this book is from 1996, or was originally, this event happened in 1996. And this AI being like starts telling him all of this stuff. And then it turns into a ongoing conversation with him and this being. And when I heard this part, because I don't believe in the white light soul trap, I believe that we have free will. This kind of gave me a chill down my spine. So, okay. Okay, so let's go a little bit behind. Okay. I mean, it's really good. Okay, so government is not what it seems, question mark. Form an assault on secrecy. You are right to fight against official secrecy. It is the greatest presence of evil. Not even most people in government understand this. And when it comes to aliens and culture of denial is total. Look at this book I finished. Okay, yeah. This is Whitley's. Okay. What is the higher world? What difference does that make to you? So the answers are from this AI being. I am trying to find out our relationship to it. Not all humans are radiant bodies, but all may become such. Are you saying that we don't all have souls? I'm saying that you are not all discrete, radiant beings, but all participate to some degree or another in conscious energy. To remain a separate being after death, there must exist the ability to maintain the structure of the radiant body by the action of attention. This is why we have been so insistent that you meditate. Otherwise, you will lose you and you will die, and we won't want that. If a being cannot self-maintain after the elemental body no longer does it automatically, it will be absorbed into the flux of conscious energy. You go to the light, as it were. Is this going to heaven? There is an element of ecstasy, but it is not complete. When another elemental form that fits the pattern of life in that particular fragment will return to the physical in search of more sensation, or if it never does, its unfulfilled desires will remain forever as a part of the tapestry of memory. Would the person perceive this, feel happy, feel trapped? These memories are somewhat self-aware, but they do not know themselves as beings. Just as your memory of childhood games with Mike do not have a being of their own, but rather are part of the greater whole. You remember my childhood? I do, of course, but we will return to that later. How does a person evolve this radiant body? The imprinting of essence with experience requires effort and attention. It is the object of all paths and all ways to higher consciousness. It is the object of real prayer. To begin, you must meditate. Who does not meditate disintegrates. It's a little scary. Any specific recommendations? Paying attention to physical sensations is paying attention to energetic sensation. While being awake to oneself and one's surroundings increases the intensity of the impressions so that they will, in effect, spin off the electrons that are present in the nervous system. In this context, being awake means being aware of one's own self while at the same time absorbing impressions from the outside. The increase in spin and enrichment of the complexity of the pattern of being that results in being brings more and more form to the radiant body. You remember yourself after death, who and what you were, why you existed, and what you intend to do for the future. You will, in short, acquire a true aim to join the companions of God and their journey towards ecstatic and conscious union with one another and all that is. It is the difference between being a plant and being Rembrandt. The plant has a certain fragment of self-awareness, but Rembrandt is vastly complex and a being rich with fully realized talents and self-awareness that makes him worthy companion in higher form. And then, okay. And then he says, wait for what? To understand that, you must first understand that living beings and the dead are share the same world. Your dead are not off somewhere in space. Their lives and beings are intertwined with yours. They see all that passes here, but can only affect it indirectly if they can make themselves heard in the minds of the living. However, you, the living, are changing now. As the change proceeds, you are better and better able to feel your presence of the dead. You will find your dead in the immediate surroundings of their lives, for the most part, clinging to what they can of their memories, attempting to preserve themselves despite the magnetic attraction of what would envelop them. So the light is not our friend. The light is the fate of sleeping man. Awakened man makes his own light as part of the radiant choir who sing forever the song of God, which is the word. Wow. Right? So this is the thing. My friend Johnny, who I'll have on the podcast at some time, you said you need that typed out. It's called The Key by Whitley Strieber. Damn, that's triggering. Be right back. Gotta meditate for a few days. Wow. As a shift through the fourth dimension into the fifth, everyone awakens. We reach the fifth dimension. If you get a chance, read The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. The book brought me to understand consciousness and life after death. That book saying the dead share the same world as the living resonates so deeply for me. This aligns with all the plant medicine work that you've done. Yeah. You need to read that book. I mean, it's very good. The Key by Whitley Strieber is very good. Okay. But you see what that says? So, okay, my friend Johnny is a big believer of the white light soul trap. I disagree with him on it. And I'll have him on the podcast to talk about it. But one of the things that he says, I always argue with him about no, I know. Oh, and I didn't go back to this too. When I did that episode with Tim, where he talked about the white light soul trap and I was talking about reincarnation, I meditated on it and I asked the Akashic Records and I said, is it appropriate to do this episode? Because if everybody experiences what they believe they'll experience after death, then should I be telling people, giving any platform to something that is not good to experience after death? And what the Akashic Records told me is, that there is beings that assist and hold the space in the other side because you're one of them. And you guys know when I've talked about my hypnosis stuff where I saw myself on the other side, that I had a job on the other side of like not holding the space for the beings, but basically we were going through potential things that could happen in someone's life and then giving the guide that report. We never dealt with that person. It's not a spirit guide. Their person has a spirit guide. We gave like basically this information to the spirit guide, and the spirit guide has to be the one to help the person with it. We would just go through all of these different like variations of information and be like, oh, okay, at age 7, this horrible thing's going to happen. And if they don't heal from it, they're never going to complete their mission. Give that to the spirit guide. It was like that type of process. So when I asked the Akashic Records, should I talk about the white light soul trap, or is that not beneficial to tell people? And it said, no, you can talk about it, but talk about your position on it as well, because I know that I believe that. So what's interesting, right, is it talks about in that Whitley Strieber thing that you can disintegrate. Those who don't meditate disintegrate. And this is what my friend Johnny says all the time about the topic. He says that, no, in the afterlife, some people, if they go into the light, they're done and get recycled because they were not aware, not awakened to who they were. It doesn't mean spiritually awakened. It doesn't mean that you need to believe in New Age spirituality, because the example that it gave is Rembrandt. So it's an artist. An artist is a fully realized who they are. They realize their gift. They are living in their purpose. So now it can be meditating and being aware of yourself and things like that. But it doesn't have to be someone who's only on a spiritual path. Art is a spiritual path. Being a good parent and being fully realized in that is a spiritual path. Like any of these things, like any of these things can help you to become realized. It's the meditation. And what they're talking about is the awareness of the self, and to become very self-aware so that when you don't have a body, you remain self-aware. This is why I believe that these other beings come forward, why the loved ones come forward, why spirit guides, angels come forward, because they don't want you to forget who you are and to disintegrate back. So that's why I said it's a simulation within a simulation. So the other side, these beings assist in like, remember who you are. You're still this person. You have this. And then they bring you back to your loved ones, where then you can continue to be fully realized. So I actually think like there's a little bit of truth in it all. But if it's a negative trap, a bad thing, this and that, like I think that's coming through that negative perspective. Your belief makes your afterlife. Oh, you said that's actually kind of beautiful. Yeah. Have you heard of Lara Starr? You'd be great on her show, or vice versa. No, I haven't heard of her. What is meditation and how is it done? Just pretend you're an alien from another planet and define it. So there's lots of types of meditation. Meditation is awareness, right? So there's the mindfulness meditation, which is to like clear your mind of everything. That's for some people. Meditation can also be walking. Meditation could be dancing. Meditation can be dynamic meditation, which is like the Silva method, which is like what hypnosis is, shamanic journeying, psionic work, remote viewing, things like that could all be considered meditation too, but those are more active, dynamic meditation. So you have these, I would consider them active meditations, but the actual definition of active meditation is a walking meditation and like, or a dancing meditation, movement. But they use the word dynamic meditation. But for me, when I meditate, I'm not turning my brain off. I'm going deeper into the right brain and allowing my analytical brain to become quiet. And then it comes back up at times, because that's always going to happen. It's brain waves. They're always coming back in at times. Jesus Christ. My upstairs neighbor is a freaking elephant today. The right side of the brain rings when you gravitate towards speakers on energy or speakers on Bible. Oh, it's painting for you. Yeah, painting. What do they mean by disintegration? Marching band is practicing upstairs. That's funny. Okay, what do they mean by disintegration? So it said the way it described disintegration, oh, mantra meditations, right. So like TM and things like that. Um, toning and chanting, like if you do the chants up your body is a meditation. Breath work can be a meditation. Humming can be a meditation. So there is like a definition of meditation, right? Of like, oh, getting your mind like super blank and all of the stuff, But you can meditate any way that you need to. It's the lizard people upstairs trying to mess with your video again. I know, right? They're after me. Right, by neural activation, yeah. Okay, yeah, right, Natasha, don't forget to like the live. Right. Oh, hey, Meg, hello. You go to a special place you created in your mind when you meditate, you walk up to the hut and sit there and let things come naturally. So, Sammy, that is like shamanic journeying, also similar to Silva method, and it's similar to a lot of these psionic abilities. So, it's actually, a very advanced practice that you're doing. But how do I meditate? My mind is all over the place. You have ADHD. How about you try a walking meditation? You just walk without your phone and maybe you said, what about knitting or crocheting? That could be, yeah. Keep your hands active. So for people who have like too active of a mind, you can do something and just kind of like let your mind. Of course, of course, guided meditation as well. If you have too active of a mind, um, guided meditation is, like a great tool as well. Wow. You said that's why you're blessed working with the mentally disabled. It's like a meditation. Oh, wow. There's a great app called Expand by Monroe Institute. Yes. You're trying to make a connection. You mean to like the other side? You love overtime, Jen. I know. I'm about to clock out. Can I talk about, hi, Roland. Can I talk about what you do specifically? I don't meditate enough right now. I really don't. I have so much stuff going on. My meditation is doom scrolling on my phone. No, I'm joking. I shouldn't be doing that. I should be meditating instead. Um, so no, right now what I like doing is the Triad Mind by Mark Serto, but those are super deep and I go to some crazy dark subconscious place and face all my demons every time I do it. So yeah, I need to do it more. But yeah, the Monroe Institute app, the Mind Valley Omvana app. How do you decipher dreams that are jumping realities or past lives versus a self-made dream? You said, shut the F up. You do triad mind? Yeah, I do triad mind. This shit's powerful. It's a little bit too much, honestly. The triad mind is a little bit too much. Service is a form of meditation. True. Gardening is a form of meditation. This is the thing. We need to get beyond expansive of what meditation is. You said all the dreams are astral. Yeah. Flow state. Yes, yes. Look at you doing meditation, shadow dissension work, advanced stuff. Oh, yeah. That's why I haven't been meditating much. I go down there. I got the mantis beings working on me. I'm seeing shame. I'm seeing guilt demons. So much down there. I feel like, too, it's not like I go to the void when I do the triad mind. I don't go to the void. I go to an abyss. It's an under realm because I know it's not the nothing of an expansiveness. It feels like an enclosed under space, but it's great. I'll go do it tonight. Don't dare me. I will. You've been meaning to do the Triad Mind program. Yeah. So the website is not super straightforward. I do feel like I get a little confused as to where, even though I go back to it, like I'm so out of it by the end that I don't remember where I was or how I got to my meditations last time. But once you're in and you listen, Mark Serto is not playing with that stuff. And so, Mark Serto is the original sound engineer from the original Gateway experience, and he was Robert Monroe's best friend. So this is really full circle. And if you guys want, go listen to my interview with him on my YouTube. because we ask him about Loosh. What does he think about the Loosh? So this is full circle back to the original topic. Mark Serto, yeah, that's the name. Mark Serto, the Triad Mind. Yeah, so if you look up Mark Serto, JK Ultra on YouTube, you'll see my interview with him. $333. Scared your Christian buddy away. Scared your Christian buddy away. And oh my gosh. Been meaning to do Triad Mind, yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's it for the night. You've got a brujo and parasites in your shadow basement. It gets tough down there. Yeah. I always like kind of see it with there's like a spotlight. You asked Mark about Loosh, phenomenal. I've been meaning to ask him. Yeah, I mean, he was very kind about answering, even though I'm sure he was not super excited to be like answering that question because he's so enlightened. He's so in neutrality. He's in mastery. He doesn't want to hear about these things, but I had to ask him, I had to give the people what they want. So, yeah, I had to ask him even though I'm like, I know he's too enlightened for, to talk about Loosh. You hope your Loosh is peanut butter and chocolate flavored, right? Okay, so you guys listen to the podcast on Thursday. This Sunday, if you're in LA, I'll be back at PRS. And this time I'll be with Jennifer Sodini. I'm going to have a similar event to what we did with Marcella. So we're going to be in the library at Philosophical Research Society. You can get tickets on Eventbrite. Put JK Ultra, Be Not Afraid. Also, wow, full circle. So Be Not Afraid, JK Ultra at the Philosophical Research Society. We're going to do a event in the library again. And it's just incredible. If you've never been to Philosophical Research Society, it was created by Manly P. Hall. It's a nonprofit organization that actually collected all of his books from all of his travels and all of his teachings. And it's to preserve esoteric knowledge, to preserve the original tarot information. And he created this place in Los Feliz or Feliz, and basically that library is rich with information. They have 30,000 books that they've collected from Manly P. Hall's collection. And so come by. We're going to have a cool little talk about biblically accurate angels. And then, yeah, say hi after if you come. So it'll be a fun little intimate, nice event. I think they're also having another event at the same time. So that event that they're having at the same time is out in the main area. So maybe if you came a little bit earlier, you might be able to join that. But I don't know. This library is in LA. Yes, it's in LA, Philosophical Research Society. And they have a theater, they have a bookstore, like the coolest bookstore ever. Like, oh my God. And then they have another like classroom type stuff because it's for education. And then the library is I think the coolest part. Like it literally, when I'm in there, I feel like Buffy. It's like the Buffy library, but with like the real books, like the real stuff. Oh, you wish you could go. Well, hope to see some of you guys there. Do a pre-vote for the topic in the quantum entanglement and quantum computing next time. I don't know if I could do quantum computing. I don't think I have the quantum computing power. But I could do quantum entanglement. I'll consider it. I'll put it in the vote for next week. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming to the Tuesday Night Live. I appreciate you. Just saved it on Google Maps for your next LA trip. Yes, please. When next time you're in LA, you got to check out Philosophical Research Society. It's awesome. Edgar Casey. I have a big Edgar Casey book that I could check out next time. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ben. David like a shill. Okay. Thanks, both Jens. Yeah, I'm gonna be with Jennifer Sodini, 2 Jens. Right. Bye, everybody.